living the life of pain and misery. Yeah. But I see the light of my family community. I just wanna thank you for giving me hope again.
The other day, me and a few of my grandchildren were sitting and we were discussing our sacred ancestral Kemetic culture. We were reasoning with some of the circumstances that are going on as we consumed a delicious raw vegan cuisine. They were asking our questions like, why is there so much emphasis on various kinds of physical things in life? They had heard about Facebook love affairs and Google-eyed stares that in real life continue to bring so many their worst nightmares. Too many selfish, self-centered strategies to advance cash to enhance romantic fantasies. Yeah, let truth be told, too many ready, willing, and able to sell out one's soul for the latest version of a cell phone. Tell us if this soul reasoning is not wrong, humanity being master programmed into a self-centered human clone. It seemed that some of the grandchildren had overheard conversations about beauty standards, who's beautiful and who's not, and who's ugly, and other kinds of things that actually had nothing to do with anything but personal preferences based on one's social programming, one's attitudes, values, behaviors, and beliefs. Why is there not a greater focus on the whole soul essence of who we be? I was reasoning with how intelligent these young people had become, and the fact that we actually are on our way to resurrecting divine social, economic, family, community order to a whole different level than where we were during the times of their birth. I can remember some of the circumstances of the sons who were asking I about altering their physical appearance as if they had the desire to assimilate, integrate, and adopt to that nature diametrically opposed to their existence so as to fit in a little better. When I reasoned with that, it was like, wow. When our ancestors say it is 7 generations that we have to work to heal all of those influences, interruptions, and interferences that encodes within our subconscious. It was as though the ghosts and goblins and demons of the dead that haunted their mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers had appeared again and was trying to see how those offsprings could sample a taste of that toxic parallel to keep them locked into a process like a revolving door that will revolve them right back into a vicious cycle of being under the control of a nature diametrically opposed to their existence. A state that would actually cause their offsprings to remain locked, entrapped, enslaved to that opposition nature of self-deified individualism. That was a lot to chew on. Just think of this. A masculine he spending nearly 80 years of Earth solar cycling focus on resurrecting the principles, morals, and values of divine social, economic, family, community order, which is the pathway to whole soul recovery, making it crystal clear that failure is not an option for us. Also making it crystal clear that detoxing and purging to heal has become more of a necessity now than ever before.
Oh, now it's time to reclaim what's been taken away. Oh, I see the light. It's the dawn of a new day.
High Priest Kwatamani, Supreme Soothsayer, Soul Seer, Spiritual Healer and Revealer, Chief Elder of the Kwatamani First Genesis Tribe, the oldest, longest sustained, raw and living, plant fuel consuming, family community order known, over half a century, and still going strong in the tropical rainforest.
If you learn to honor and respect the essence of your being, and know full well that you emerged out of Mother Spirit, Mother Earth, and know full well that our responsibility, duty, and obligation is to step forward and give love and cherish and care to Mother Earth, to Mother Spirit, and to know that it takes she to birth you, and therefore that if both of you can comprehend as masculine presence the nature of what you're dealing with, you will indeed be rewarded, because the divine law of reciprocation happens, whether we know it or not. A miraculous occurrence can inspire the natural and innate energy of the masculine heat to go beyond this pale veil of deception.
Quote, the most effective way to destabilize man, he and she, has been to weaken and deplete the ancestral male, reducing him to a lower and lesser state of being, where manhood, fatherhood, brotherhood, and matehood function in opposition to the divine union of masculine and feminine energy. That is to say, simply by reshaping and shifting the ancestral codes of masculinity, one automatically sets up a toxic chain reaction that prevents the forwarding of divine guidance and protection as the natural and innate expressions of man he. End of quote. Banu Book 3, page 319, by High Priest Kwatamani.
A miraculous occurrence can inspire the masculine he to move his holistic living masculine presence into a divine, natural, and innate bonding relationship with she, becoming a father spirit, a strong and vibrant brother spirit, become an uncle, a nephew, whatever is necessary in divine order, focused on the holistic living resurrection of divine socioeconomic family community. You see, we got to rebirth this thing. Then we got to give divine guidance and protection to it. And then we have to have divine nurturing affection of it. And this has to occur long before we ejaculate sperm cells into her womb. We got to get up on this, and we have to be about this and come to a full recognition of our divine, natural, and innate responsibilities as the sacred ancestral masculine he, looking out for the feminine she, because we must recover her. And if we do not focus on this intense vibration of perpetuating divine order, the only thing that will happen is a continuation of disorder. This is very serious. And some think it's simply a joke. Let that not get personal, because you know what? Action speaks louder than words, and divine action speaks louder than any sound that is heard. Each and every offspring of the Ana since 1987 have been born under the principles of maintaining celibacy, maintaining virginity. The reason and the focus is divine union of masculine and feminine energies is a very serious matter. And those who take this seriously have to begin to put it in action through their offsprings. This means an intense level of divine guidance and protection must occur within that masculine he. He must come to the full recognition that he got to be a whole different kind of masculine he, and that divine guidance and protection has to be his utmost responsibility. If he cannot carry it out, why would he then enter the gateway of life that exists in between the thighs of the feminine she, unless his focus is just to enjoy the pleasure of a moment? We have to go beyond this syndrome, a syndrome that is perpetuated by a renegade mindset, by a hunting, herding, warring culture, by a predatory nature of masculinity. And we have to make some decisions. If this is where we desire to be as the masculine he, hey, so be it. But then those of we who know full well that our sacred ancestral garden culture reality has absolutely nothing to do with that level and degree of irresponsibility, we have to go beyond the call of duty. And please, let us not forget, we have to be consciously aware of the attitudes, values, behaviors, and beliefs that has infiltrated those lost and astray offsprings who are stuck and stagnant in fantasy, delusion, and illusionary dreams of romantic ideologies that show the true nature of itself when and where it is least expected, and that hurts so much. We have to go beyond the call of duty to make sure that those generations born off of we connect with the principles, morals, and values of divine social, economic, family, community order. If we desire to break generational curses, we're talking about green earth solar conscious beings taking this thing very, very serious. Each of my 3 elder daughters were mated as virgins. It's something to feel proud of. Some people say, well, they didn't get a chance to experience life. It's like, what are you talking about? It is indeed a very wholesome feeling to know that not one of those 3 mated daughters was raped, misused, abused, went through domestic violence, had to have the experiences of dealing with sexual promiscuity or those vibrations of drug addictions and afflictions. Yes, it is indeed comforting to know that my daughters did not go through young age heartbreak, those things that can actually cause the feminine emotion to implode deep enough, long enough to cause her to look at all kinds of options, like simply taking a route out of life. What in the world would cause one to put forward such a consciousness to say they didn't enjoy the experiences of life? Additionally, I'm very proud to say that each one of their mates have maintained a unified bond of relationship over the past 10 years. Each of those daughters who have birthed grandchildren now into a new generational consciousness, a higher peace conscious state of thought and reasoning and action. That's the reflection of our sacred ancestral garden culture community relationship. And I say this again and again. We're talking about a family, communal, working relationship in progress. I have had a focus ever since very young to keep those sons within an alignment so that he, the masculine, who is of the utmost importance in this holistic living resurrection movement, can take his role as the sacred ancestral masculine he, being prepared, ready, willing, and able to provide divine guidance and protection to a branch of this tree. We're talking about the tree of life. Each and every offspring under the roof of the I has upheld and maintained the principles of celibacy, maintaining virginity, knowing full well we cannot ignore the sacred ancestral presence of Ma'at, regardless of how one is scorned and ridiculed. I feel proud of my 30-year-old son, who has faced a lot of criticism, a lot of ridicule from family, friends, and kin, due to the fact that he has upheld and maintained the sacred ancestral order of divine social, economic, family, community, regardless of the psychological level and degree of difficulties he has faced, trying to uphold and maintain the principles of divine social, economic, family, community order, while at the same time attempting to create an imaginary thin line that will allow him to interface with the attitudes, values, behaviors, and beliefs of that external culture, that culture that has shown historically to stand diametrically opposed to his existence. It is quite clear that this will create a massive conflict of interest and will cause that offspring to flip-flop from soul to self, simply because it requires so much patience to uphold that natural and innate masculine and feminine mate relationship that will occur only when that soul-to-soul encounter manifests. And what the I say to him, be patient, my son. The time is upon us. Unfortunately, those who are making critical remarks have no other kind of experience that they can relate to other than that self-centered, individualized, macho, male definition of manhood. A definition of manhood that is either glorified or rejected by the feminine she, who would then seek some other kind of type of option to work with. Secondly, most have no close family father relationship. For the most part, there are not even fathers within the household. So it has to be reasoned that they're only coming from where they are at, within a self-centered, individualistic parallel of thoughts and reasoning in action. And we're coming from a whole different place. We're coming to the space and place where holistic living consciousness is an absolute necessity for recovering our sacred ancestral garden culture reality, our first Genesis reality, where the fruits of the tree of life flourishes within divine, social, economic, family, communal order. We must be mindful here that this son has younger brothers and younger sisters. And as a result of that, we face an immediate challenge, a challenge that will require the gates of our divine social, economic, family, community order to remain consciously open for a few of the few who are ready, willing, and able to go through the process of detoxing and purging to heal into a sacred ancestral family communal order. Those who can appreciate the fact that this is a work in progress for all of us as we move forward in this sacred ancestral recovery campaign. At this particular point in time, it must be made very clear failure is not an option in the resurrection of divine social, economic, family, communal order. We also make it very clear that we only have one route to move forward, and that route is that has been given to us by those generations and generations of sacred ancestors who have forwarded 7 times 7 generations of whole life energy from the most supreme, seen and unseen essence of life and supreme love. And to reject that and take a different route is a curse spewed upon our sacred ancestral presence as man, he, and she. A direct route into oblivious nothingness, where suffering, grueling, misery, aches, and pain is the name of the game. We must be clear that there's absolutely no possibility of whole life resurrection until or unless we are able to connect with the inner soul of the feminine she. We must comprehend, no matter how one feels, that whatever we gather together in whole life energy must be rebirthed, and that the feminine she is given that divine, natural, and innate duty, obligation, and responsibility to birth all that we will be. Therefore, it is no downgrading of masculinity, no self-glorifying one-upmanship of femininity, It is simply each and every one of us taking our natural and innate duty, obligation, and responsibility. He providing divine guidance and protection to safeguard the women and the children. She providing divine nurturing affection to breed all that has been divinely guided and protected into her by the masculine he, so that we will maintain that sacred ancestral connection to the most supreme, seen and unseen essence of sacred ancestral masculine and feminine energy. That first Genesis reality of our birth as he and she. Most do not even comprehend how the feminine has been reflected upon within the external world that is external to our green earth solar conscious reality. How she has been looked upon in those cultures that perpetuate that mono-male nature and all of the other isms and schisms thereof. You know, that culture that perpetuates sexual violation, violence, war, and crime as a way of life. We have had to face those challenges. And a sacred few of us have survived it. And we got to feel good about that. We got to feel a sense of pride about that. And those masculines who come forward and decide that they want to live a holistic way of life. They want to break the codes of generational curses and align with divine spirit conscious thought and reasonings and action. Those who decide that they want to play a part in divine social, economic, family, communal order. Recovering. Please take heed. The masculine he has been groomed and conditioned within that predatory culture, that mono culture that actually accelerates the hunting, herding, warring mentality, even if he becomes a vegan, a consumer of raw and living fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts. The encodes are deep inside of his subconscious mind, and all of his relationships will reflect that upon him. Up until this point, it has been nothing less than spiritual war. But as we enter AD 2025, the Kwatamani First Genesis tribe is alive and well. Give thanks, praise, and appreciation for those mothers who have aligned with the ideology of resurrecting sacred ancestral femininity, who have went through all of the various kinds of changes necessary, the detoxing, purging, and healing necessary to breed a new consciousness of femininity, which is a continuous and ongoing work in progress, accelerating the consciousness of all that is birthed out of her, the first teacher. We're talking about accelerating the mental, physical, and spiritual consciousness of both he and she. All due praise, thanks, and appreciation to those communal conscious mothers who have followed the sacred ancestral guidance and protection strong enough, long enough to breed a new consciousness of femininity. We're talking about sacred ancestral green earth solar conscious daughters who refuse to assimilate, integrate, and adopt any attitudes, values, behaviors, and beliefs that uphold that opposing nature of toxic disorder. Refuse to assimilate, integrate, adopt it. You see her spiritual pursuits lead to ancestral roots. To quench her thirst, she seeks the first Genesis man. Nothing less than the green earth solar conscious master plan. Yeah, she needs the security of spiritual maturity. Her soul at stake. Critical life decisions to make. No fake. Her emotions impacted. Deeply attracted to a masculine he who's not distracted, but ready to deliver, to give her a reason to rejoice. Her choice, the natural selection. He who provides divine guidance and protection. Her family community connection, bringing honor upon her for her nurturing affection. To multiply her every offspring and reflection. To be blunt upfront, she bear the brunt as the wayfarer, the water bearer. She who must birth this green earth solar conscious era.
Open our eyes.
Deanne, I wonder how many of you have truly come to understand she, the birthplace of the he and she of man, Have we actually begun to see and sense the power of femininity? You know, she can be your worst nightmare. Or we can actually turn her to our very best friend simply by the nature of energy we bring to her. Divine order or toxic reality. And whatever is brought to she and consumed by her is exactly what will be passed on into every offspring and vibration birthed of she. This is where each and every one of us has to become accountable, because we can either continue a downward spiral into oblivious nothingness, or we can work to recover from this toxic parallel that is hell-bent on keeping us divided, conquered, separated, miseducated into a self-deifying syndrome where divine social, economic, family, community order is degraded. In other words, downgraded.
Quote, within this clear view of spiritual conflict and inner crisis, the High Priest Kwatamani identifies toxic relationship patterns that will lead to the ultimate demise of spirit-conscious energy within man, he, and she. Such a demise could only manifest human clones and worker drone-like beings who exist as slaves to a deified self on the path to oblivious nothingness. In the final analysis, the High Priest Kwatamani invites man, he, and she to take the challenge of resurrecting the divine union of masculine and feminine energy. He makes it very clear that spirit-conscious resurrection goes far beyond the boundaries of sex, race, creed, color, religion, or national origin. End of quote. Taken from the prophetic 12,594-year Banu cycle. Encoding the consciousness of higher peace through the divine union of masculine and feminine energy, Book 3, Spiritual Analysis of Western Culture and the Reawakening of Naga Consciousness by High Priest Kwatamani. Page 3.
Let us be clear here. There's absolutely no way an upgrade, a holistic living upgrading of divine social, economic, family, community order can ever come to be unless we take a deep-seated look into the mental, physical, and spiritual consciousness of she, the birthplace of he and she. We're talking about attitudes, values, behaviors, and beliefs that has intruded or invaded into her consciousness, and there's no ands, ifs, and buts about it. We are not going to be able to detox, purge, and heal anything until or unless we're able to reach her. She, the first teacher and the birthplace of man, he and she. And it is not for the I and I to reveal those things that she has been groomed and conditioned to conceal. It is for her to give us a kind of divine clarity that can only come from the feminine she.
It's just a surface identity. Gotta look deep within, deeper than skin. Open our eyes.
High Priest Kwatamani brings forward sacred ancestral teachings for whole life recovery. The Asarian resurrection of sacred ancestral masculine energy was preserved within the soul of femininity, the Aset and Nebuchadnezzar encodes of sacred ancestral feminine energy. However, there's another nature of femininity that must be exposed. Continued in Part 2. See the link below.